The clatter of plates was a constant song in Gabriel's life. Day in and day out in the steaming kitchen of the Gilded Spoon, his hands worked tirelessly, scrubbing away the remnants of gourmet meals he would never taste. At 34, with kind eyes and a tired but hopeful smile, Gabriel was a single dad. His greatest treasure was his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, whose bright laughter was the true music of his world. He wanted more for her, so much more than the life he currently led, surrounded by the smell of expensive food and the endless pile of dirty dishes. Every evening after his shift, Gabriel would rush home, his heart light with anticipation. Lily would greet him with a hug that melted away the day's fatigue. They lived in a small, cozy apartment, filled with Lily's drawings and the faint scent of the simple, yet delicious, meals Gabriel cooked for them. He might wash dishes for a living, but at home, he was a chef of love, turning humble ingredients into feasts for his daughter. He often thought about the grand dining room at the Gilded Spoon, where crystal glasses chimed and fancy forks clicked against delicate china. He imagined Lily sitting there one day, not as a guest, but as someone who belonged, someone who had every opportunity. That dream kept him going through long hours and aching hands. He'd save every extra dollar, tucking it away for Lily's future, a future where she wouldn't have to stand over a sink, scrubbing other people's leftovers. Sometimes, as he loaded another rack into the dishwashing machine, Gabriel would catch a glimpse of the chefs through the busy kitchen doors, expertly plating their creations. A flicker of something, a forgotten spark, would ignite in his chest. He'd quickly push it down, reminding himself that his path was clear now. Lily came first always. His own dreams, once so vivid, had been carefully packed away, like old photographs in a forgotten album. But deep down, beneath the soap suds and the steam, a quiet hope still hummed. One particular Tuesday, the usual hum of the Gilded Spoon was replaced by a frantic buzz. Tonight was the annual Charity Star Gala, the biggest event of the year, bringing in the city's wealthiest and most influential people. The entire staff, from the busboys to the sous chefs, moved with a heightened sense of urgency. Gabriel, amidst the towering stacks of shimmering silver platters, felt the tension in the air. He usually kept his head down, focusing on the rhythm of his work, but today was different. Suddenly, a piercing cry echoed from the main kitchen. "Chef Anton is down, he's got the flu badly." A hush fell over the kitchen, then chaos erupted. Chef Anton, a man known for his fiery temper and even more fiery culinary skills, was the star of the show. He was supposed to prepare the signature dish for the gala, a complex roasted duck with cherry reduction that took hours to perfect. Now he was being helped out of the kitchen, looking pale and unsteady. Panic spread like wildfire. The restaurant manager, Mr. Davies, a man whose smile rarely reached his eyes, rushed in, his face etched with worry. "What do you mean he's down? The gala starts in 2 hours. Who's going to make the duck?" "It's the centerpiece," he shouted, his voice cracking with stress. Sous chefs huddled together, looking lost. No one else had Chef Anton's touch with that specific dish. It was his masterpiece, known only to him. The other chefs, while skilled, couldn't replicate its delicate balance of flavors in such short notice. The room buzzed with whispers of disaster. The reputation of the Gilded Spoon was on the line, and with it, the success of the entire charity event. Gabriel, from his usual spot by the dishwashing machine, watched the unfolding crisis. He saw the fear in their eyes, the helplessness. He knew this gala was important for the charity, for all the good it did. A strange feeling began to stir within him, a mix of old memories and a new, quiet determination. The clatter of plates seemed to fade, replaced by the frantic beating of his own heart. The panic in the kitchen grew thicker, almost tasting of despair. Mr. Davies, red-faced and pacing, threw his hands up. "We're ruined. The guests will be here any minute." It was then that Gabriel, still in his grease-splashed apron, took a deep breath. He knew it was a crazy idea, a dishwasher offering to cook for a grand gala, but he couldn't stand by and watch the event fail. He thought of Lily and how important it was to help when you could. "Mr. Davies," Gabriel said, his voice surprisingly steady, cutting through the frantic whispers. Everyone turned to look at him, their eyes wide with surprise, then disbelief. I can cook the dish. Mister. Davy stared, a frown deepening on his face. You, Gabriel, you wash dishes. This is Chef Anton's signature roasted duck, a very complicated recipe. Not the duck, sir, Gabriel replied, stepping forward, a quiet confidence growing within him. I have a different recipe. It's a family recipe from my late wife's grandmother. It's a chicken stew, slow-cooked with special spices and herbs. It's simple, but it's full of flavor. And it's always been loved by everyone who tries it. The sous chefs exchanged doubtful glances. A chicken stew, for a high-class gala, it sounded too humble, but Mr. Davies was desperate. Time was running out and they had no other choice. He looked at Gabriel, really looked at him for the first time. There was an earnestness in Gabriel's eyes, a quiet strength that made him pause. Do you really think you can do it, Gabriel, properly, for over 100 guests, mister? Davies asked, his voice still doubtful. Gabriel nodded firmly. Yes, sir, I promise you it will be delicious. It's a dish that carries a lot of love and warm memories. It always makes people feel happy. He thought of his wife, Elena, and her grandmother, Nana Rosa, whose hands had taught him the secrets of that very stew. It wasn't just food, it was a hug in a bowl, a taste of home. With a nod from a still skeptical mister. Davies, Gabriel shed his dishwashing apron and tied on a clean chef's one. It felt strange, yet wonderfully familiar to have the crisp fabric around him. He moved with a quiet purpose, gathering ingredients. The sous chefs watched him, their initial doubts slowly turning into curious awe. Gabriel didn't follow fancy techniques. He worked with a deep, intuitive understanding of flavors and textures, just as Nana Rosa had taught. He chopped onions and carrots with swift, practiced movements, the knife a natural extension of his hand. He browned chicken pieces until their skin was golden, then added fragrant herbs and spices that filled the kitchen with a warm, inviting aroma. The stew simmered gently, a rich, bubbling pot of comfort. He tasted, adjusted, and stirred, pouring not just ingredients but a lifetime of love and memories into every spoonful. The kitchen staff, initially bustling around him, grew quiet, drawn in by the delicious smells and Gabriel's calm focus. As the first plates of the humble hearth stew were served, a ripple of curiosity, then delight, spread through the elegant dining room. The guests, used to elaborate, often overly fussy dishes, paused. They took a bite, then another. Murmurs of appreciation began to rise, growing louder with each passing minute. "What is this divine flavor?" one guest exclaimed, her eyes wide. "It's so simple, yet so rich." "It tastes like home," another sighed, a look of pure contentment on his face. Warm and comforting, unlike anything else on the menu tonight. The stew, humble in its name, was a revelation. It spoke of honest ingredients, slow cooking, and a deep, soulful understanding of food. It outshone the elaborate appetizers and the carefully crafted side dishes. The plates came back to the kitchen almost entirely clean, a rare sight at the Gilded Spoon. Gabriel, wiping his hands on his apron, felt a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with the heat of the kitchen. It was the joy of sharing something truly special, something made with love. As the last delighted murmurs died down in the dining room and the kitchen slowly returned to its normal rhythm, Gabriel found himself standing by the now empty stew pot. A quiet sense of pride settled over him, a feeling he hadn't truly felt in years. He remembered a time when this feeling was common, when the kitchen wasn't just a place of work, but a place of passion. Before Lily, before the unthinkable loss of his beloved Elena, Gabriel had been a culinary student. He dreamed of opening his own small, cozy restaurant, a place where food was made with heart and served with a smile. He loved learning about different ingredients, the science of baking, the art of presentation. His teachers had praised his natural talent, his ability to coax incredible flavors from simple components. He saw a bright future, a life filled with delicious creations. But life had a way of changing plans. When Elena, his loving wife, passed away suddenly, leaving him with their infant daughter, Lily, Gabriel's world shattered. The thought of long, grueling hours in a professional kitchen, of late nights and early mornings, became impossible. Lily needed him completely and utterly. So he put away his chef's whites, sold his expensive knife set, and traded his culinary textbooks for parenting guides. He took on any job that offered stable hours and enough pay to keep a roof over their heads, even if it meant scrubbing dishes in a fancy restaurant, watching others live out the very dreams he had once chased. He never regretted his choice. Lily's bright eyes and happy giggle were worth every sacrifice. But tonight, as the aroma of his stew lingered in the air, a whisper of his old dreams stirred. It was a faint whisper, almost lost in the everyday sounds of the kitchen, but it was there, a reminder of the talented chef he once was and perhaps still could be. He had put his dreams on hold for Lily, believing it was the only way. Tonight he wondered if maybe, just maybe, those dreams weren't entirely gone. The next morning the restaurant was buzzing with praise for the humble hearth stew. Phone calls poured in, complimenting the unexpected star of the gala. Mr. Davies, usually stern, now wore a wide, almost too bright smile. He called a staff meeting, and Gabriel, still in his dishwashing uniform, stood quietly at the back. "I must say, Mr. Davies began, puffing out his chest, last night was a triumph, a true testament to the innovation and quick thinking of the Gilded Spoon team." He glanced around, making eye contact with the sous chefs, but carefully avoiding Gabriel. When Chef Antoine fell ill, it was a moment of crisis. But thanks to our brilliant culinary team, we pulled through. We decided on the fly to introduce a rustic, comforting dish, a nod to traditional home cooking, which, as you all saw, was a massive hit. The sous chefs shifted uncomfortably. They knew the truth, but no one dared speak up against Mr. Davies, especially when he was in such a good mood. He continued to spin a tale of collective genius, making it sound as if the idea for the stew and its flawless execution had been a joint effort by the entire kitchen, orchestrated by him. He even hinted that the recipe was a new, experimental creation from the restaurant's own secret culinary playbook. Gabriel listened, a knot forming in his stomach. He hadn't expected praise or a parade, but to have his late wife's family recipe, a dish so personal and full of meaning, claimed by management as their own, felt like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just about him. It was about Nana Rosa and Alina and the legacy of love baked into every ingredient. He watched as Mr. Davies beamed, basking in the reflected glory of a dish he had initially doubted. The manager then announced that the humble hearth stew would be added to the regular menu, rebranding it as the Gilded Hearth Stew, a new signature dish of the restaurant. Gabriel's heart sank. His quiet pride turned into a simmering anger. The manager's voice boomed, full of self-congratulation, as he continued to take credit for the dish. Gabriel felt his anger, usually a rare visitor, rise to the surface. This wasn't just about a recipe. It was about respect, about the memory of his wife, and about the truth. He couldn't let it stand. "Excuse me, Mr. Davies," Gabriel said, his voice quiet but firm. Every head in the room turned. "Mr. Davies" mid-sentence stopped, his smile faltering as he saw the dishwasher speaking up. "Gabriel, is there something you wish to add?" Mr. Davies asked, his tone suddenly frosty. "Yes, sir," Gabriel replied, stepping forward, his eyes meeting the manager's without flinching. "The humble hearth stew was not a collective effort. It was my recipe, a family recipe passed down from my late wife's grandmother." He explained how he had offered it when Chef Antoine was ill, how he had cooked it alone, putting his heart into every step. A gasp went through the room. The sous chefs, emboldened by Gabriel's courage, began to nod. "It's true, Mr. Davies," one of them mumbled. "Gabriel cooked it all himself." Mr. Davies' face turned a shade of purple. "Gabriel, this is highly inappropriate. You are a dishwasher, not a chef. You have no right to claim ownership of a dish served in my establishment." "I have every right, sir," Gabriel stated, his voice now strong and clear, "because it came from my hands and my family's history. It's a dish made with love, not just ingredients." He spoke about his past as a culinary student, about giving up his dreams to care for Lily, about the quiet joy he found in cooking for his daughter. The room was silent, save for the hum of the kitchen. The staff, from the busboys to the sous chefs, looked at Gabriel with new eyes. They saw not just a dishwasher, but a man of integrity, a loving father, and a talented cook who had sacrificed his own ambitions. The truth hung in the air, undeniable and powerful. Mr. Davies stood speechless, his grand claims now exposed as hollow lies. People were impressed not just by Gabriel's skill, but by his honesty and courage. Unknown to Gabriel, the confrontation had an unexpected witness. Clara Jenkins, the elegant event planner for the Charity Star Gala, had arrived early to discuss follow-up details with Mr. Davies. She had stepped into the kitchen just as Gabriel began to speak, intending to discreetly wait for the meeting to finish. Instead, she found herself captivated by the unfolding drama. Clara, in her early 30s, with sharp, intelligent eyes and a warm smile, was not easily impressed by showy displays. She valued authenticity and integrity above all else. As Gabriel spoke, his voice filled with a quiet passion, she saw a depth in him that went far beyond his humble job. She watched as his honesty painted a vivid picture of sacrifice, love, and a forgotten talent. The way he spoke about his daughter, Lily, and his late wife's family recipe touched her deeply. It wasn't just food he was defending, it was his heart. She saw the raw courage it took for a man in his position to stand up to his boss, especially one as powerful and prideful as Mr. Davies. She saw the quiet dignity in his posture, the unwavering conviction in his eyes. While others might have seen a mere dishwasher, Clara saw a true artist, a loving father, and a man of immense character. When the meeting finally broke up, with Mr. Davies retreating in a huff and the staff looking at Gabriel with newfound respect, Clara approached him. "Gabriel," she said, her voice soft but clear. He turned, surprised to see her, a beautiful woman he'd only ever seen from a distance in the dining room. "Ms. Jenkins," he replied, feeling a blush creep up his neck. "Please call me Clara," she smiled. "I just wanted to say, that was incredibly brave of you. And the stew, it was absolutely divine, the best dish of the night by far." Her eyes held a warmth that made Gabriel feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in a very long while. Her words were like a gentle ray of sunshine, cutting through the steam and the lingering tension of the kitchen. Clara's words lingered in the air, a gentle melody in Gabriel's ears. He hadn't realized how much he needed to hear them, to be recognized not just for his work, but for who he was. They talked for a few more minutes, standing amidst the fading chaos of the kitchen. Clara asked about the recipe, about Nana Rosa, and Gabriel found himself opening up, sharing stories he hadn't spoken aloud in years. He even mentioned Lily, his face softening with every word. Clara listened with genuine interest, her smile unwavering. She told him about her own work, how she loved bringing people together through events, and how a dish like his stew truly made an impact. There was an ease between them, a comfortable flow of conversation that felt both new and familiar. Before she left, Clara gave him her business card, a subtle invitation to continue their chat. "Perhaps we could discuss future collaborations," she suggested, her eyes twinkling. Gabriel knew she meant more than just business. Over the next few weeks, those collaborations turned into coffee dates, then dinners cooked by Gabriel in his small apartment, much to Clara's delight, and long walks in the park. Clara met Lily, and the two instantly bonded over stories and drawings. Lily, usually shy with new people, took to Clara's kind and playful nature right away. Clara brought a brightness into their lives, a sense of possibility that Gabriel hadn't dared to hope for. He found himself smiling more, laughing more freely. Clara encouraged him to explore his passion for cooking again, not just as a duty, but as a joy. She saw the spark in his eyes when he talked about food, and gently pushed him to believe in his own talent. With Clara by his side, Gabriel began to imagine a future where he could pursue his dreams, a future where Lily would have not just a comfortable life, but a happy, inspiring one, watching her father do what he loved. It was a new beginning, warm and full of promise, like the gentle simmer of a good stew. Months later, the air was filled not with the fancy smells of the gilded spoon, but with the warm, inviting aroma of Gabriel's humble hearth stew. This time, however, it wasn't for a gala of the rich and famous, but for a bustling community dinner at the local church hall. Gabriel, no longer a dishwasher, now proudly wore a simple chef's jacket. He had left the Gilded Spoon shortly after the gala, encouraged by Clara and the newfound confidence in his own abilities. With Clara's help, he had started a small catering business, specializing in comforting, homemade meals, much like the stew that had changed his life. Beside him, a beaming Lily, now 8 years old, carefully carried small bowls of the stew to waiting tables. Her face was alight with pride as she served Daddy's dish, telling everyone, "My daddy made this." It's Nana Rose's secret recipe. She was a little helper, a tiny ambassador for the food that now represented not just a meal but a legacy. Clara stood nearby, watching Gabriel and Lily with a soft smile. Their love story had blossomed beautifully, a testament to courage, honesty, and shared dreams. She often helped Gabriel with the business, her event planning skills proving invaluable. More importantly, she was a loving presence in both Gabriel and Lily's lives, a gentle anchor in their new, exciting journey. The community dinner was a joyful affair. People chatted and laughed, their faces glowing with contentment as they enjoyed Gabriel's delicious stew. It was a dish that reminded them of home, of family, and of the simple joy of sharing good food. For Gabriel, watching Lily serve his creation, the circle felt complete. Food for him was no longer just about survival or forgotten dreams. It was a language of love, a way to honor his past, cherish his present, and build a beautiful future for his daughter. The humble hearth stew was more than just a recipe. It was a family gift, passed down through generations, now lovingly shared with the world, one spoonful of warmth and happiness at a time.